I've tried to cut off as much noise as I can, but if anything makes its way through, I deeply apologize. Gold Digger tells a story about Julia Day, a 60-year-old woman who falls in love with Benjamin Greene, a 30-year-old man, her children, and her ex-husband, that guy. All believe he is nothing but a gold digger, taking advantage of her vulnerability to worm his way into a comfortable life at her side because she has some cash. Today, I'm going to walk you through the series, so major spoilers ahead for those who haven't watched it. If you think you would want to watch it on your own, this is the early warning to do go and watch it on your own if spoilers are not your thing, but you haven't heard of it before and the premise is something you're interested in. If you don't mind spoilers, then of course stay. And if you do leave to go watch it first, please come back so that we can discuss whatever we experience on this show together. I would love to hear your opinions about the character of Benjamin Greene, played by the handsome and charming Ben Barnes. This was the first time I saw this guy. I think I should say this. Now, before we get into the story, if this is your first time coming across my videos, hello. If it's not your first time, well, welcome back. If you enjoy the content and also to save me from YouTube's unhelpful algorithm, click the subscribe button and join the channel. Like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. That is something that is more important to me. I want to know what you think about the show, and I would always love to read them. Getting to the mini-series, I found and still find it hilarious that both of the main characters share the same first names with the actors who play them. Julia Day is played by Julia Ormond, and Benjamin Greene is played by Ben Barnes. Yes, Benjamin and Ben have some differences in length of words, but you get my point. If it was not intentional, then it's hilarious how the two actors to win the roles were people who shared names with the characters being portrayed. This was also my first introduction to Ben Barnes, the entire cast really. I had never seen any of them before, but Ben most importantly for a reason I will soon share. Julia, on the day she first meets Benjamin, is shown speaking to her 3 children. Her youngest, Leo, is vapid and self-centered, and we only find out when she's speaking to her daughter Della that it's her birthday, or at least I remember only finding out because of the daughter. I don't remember if they said it before she got on the train. Leo, the son that she met early in the morning, the one that she woke up to in the house who was chatting about this, I need that. Leo didn't remember. And her oldest child, Patrick, also calls remembering her birthday unlike Leo, but just like Della, is unable to make it to celebrate with her. And couple this with the finalization of her divorce, we will get into that later. She decides she's not going to be brought down, but she's already been brought down. She obviously was upset. I don't know if I should say upset or sad, because she ends her call with her son, telling him it's alright that he can't make it, but then throws the flowers that he gifted her on the floor, just visibly drained. She decides to enjoy her birthday visiting the British Museum, where she runs into, not literally, she doesn't run into him, but she meets Benjamin Greene. I love how they didn't have the accidental bumping into each other. I don't know why. I think I've seen so many things around this time back to back where it's just, oh, sorry, did you drop this? No, get up. I'm sorry. Well, she stands beside him, and after a short time, not long, he initiates conversation to learn more about her. The conversation isn't long, but it's endearing, and when she starts to leave, he invites her for a drink. You know, they discuss things like the museum. He speaks about how, oh, I wonder what was there, and she tells him what was there, and he asks, how do you know this? And she tells him she used to work in a museum many years ago, to which he tells her, you know, obviously couldn't be that long. He's trying to flirt, you know, because many years ago kind of signifies how old she is, and he was trying to be like, yeah, it can't be that long, you still look. He was trying. He invites her out in the most me way ever, me being just devolving into chaos. He tells her that, hey, do you want to go for a drink? And she's confused as to what he's trying to say. I think she didn't really think he was asking her out, so she follows up with, who am I going out to drink with? And he's shocked, like, with me. She stutters, and he follows with the most insane line of, oh, you can't say no, I'm not going to like stalk you to your house and try to. I'm like, whoa. Sir, that is so me. It's embarrassing. I feel like I'm someone that can devolve into that level of awkwardness.
Okay, I'm gonna stop talking now.
We move on. He succeeds. She does agree. And a drink leads to him joining her on the tour of London. Exaggeration. Maybe they did tour. I don't think they showed much. They just went from the bar. Was it a bar? I think it was a bar. They just went from the bar to rooftop drinking wine or something. They essentially spend the rest of the day together, ending the night with the rooftop dance that reveals just a little more about Julia's life. She has a flashback, a traumatic response, honestly, to something that was just a simple act of dancing. You know, when you've gone through something and someone maybe does something like explode or shout and it triggers you, all he did was offer his hand for her to dance and she's dancing, but she begins to have these flashbacks as Ben is taking her hand and putting her hand on his shoulder, like directing her what to do, her hands on the shoulder, they're laughing. She begins to recall her time with her now ex-husband, where he is also taking her hand and placing it on his body, on his crotch, a different circumstance, and she was visibly uncomfortable. It's a little scene, but loudly screams about her life before the beginning of the scene. Sorry, the beginning of the series. The woman in the flashback is younger, so it's safe to assume it was years ago and is still affecting her in the moment. It even ultimately dims the giddiness she had at the beginning of the dance. As the dance is progressing, Ben is still trying to be soft and flirtatious, and her smile just gradually keeps dropping because the flashbacks just keep happening. She wakes up the next morning and Ben is in her bed. She tries to say goodbye to him, but he ends up kissing her and they spend more time together. They go out and she spoils him. She buys him a watch, a scene that is uncomfortable for her, me, and him. But they also enjoy London some more. She's actually having fun on this birthday trip that seemed so gloom and doom in the beginning, which, now that I'm thinking about when Della called about not being able to make it, I've not been to London, obviously, but I think she was taking the train and her phone rang out loud and everybody started giving her a stare. And she then tells Della that I'm in the quiet carriage. For those who have taken any transportation like that, is that how they react to your phone ringing? Do they expect that your phone should be on silent and for the entire trip you do not answer calls or chat? Maybe you're listening to a video and you giggle or laugh and they will start giving you stares. Does that happen? But their blissful budding relationship is turned long distance when she returns home. It is during this trip back where we see her interact with her ex-husband and his new woman. Not so new, but we'll get to that. It's tense with her ex, even though she, Julia, seems to have a good relationship with her mother-in-law. Before he walks in, they're chatting, and then he walks in and she's ready to leave. The encounter leads to another flashback, this time of a gathering. A group of friends seem to be playing cards. Let me calm down. A group of friends seems to be playing cards with her and her husband. Someone, a guy, places his hand on her shoulder and she is frightened. She pushes his hand off. I don't know if she was trying to do it casually to not make the guy think she was doing it because he wasn't flirting. It was a moment like, ha 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 ha, ha, hand on shoulder. That was just what happened. She didn't invite it. She wasn't even speaking to him when he did it. He just put his hand on her shoulder and she tried to casually push it off, but it had already visibly upset her husband. She didn't do anything. The guy that had a hand on her shoulder, didn't seem to do anything, but he already upset him. Coupled with the first flashback, it's easy to understand that the man is an abusive one. As this flashback is happening, she's falling apart in the car because she left the ex-husband in the house, zoomed past his new woman. If she could act like she wasn't there, she would have. She tries to drive away, but she doesn't make it far. She's breaking apart in the car. Just as with the dance, her earlier confidence is shattered and she ends up crying. Leo gets the spotlight again, and he's not better than the first time, unfortunately. He recognizes, wow, the rain has started again. If you guys hear it, I'm so sorry. I have not been able to record for days because it's been raining non-stop and it started again. Anyway, he doesn't acknowledge with emphasis on apologies as to how he forgot his mother's birthday. He brushes off forgetting her birthday and gets upset when she doesn't jump to give him some money. He's asking for something. He says, oh, I'm sorry about your birthday, mom, or whatever he says. And then, why do I just devolve into the British accent when I'm trying to... I'm so sorry. I'm not doing it on purpose. I just realized this is the second time I'm doing it. I'm so sorry. He apologizes for forgetting her birthday. Then he says, oh, I have this plan and this plan. I want X and Y. She's like, no, I can't give you X and Y. And he now makes it, maybe that's how she is getting revenge because he forgot her birthday. How self-centered can you be, sir? She leaves him because it's not all about him. I don't know if she says it then or later, but she mentions something like that. And then she meets with Ben again. And it's a little awkward, but they soon fall back into rhythm and in tune with one another. That soon falls apart though when she gets nervous at their outing and voices doubt as to why he was with her and not someone else, someone his own age, even revealing that she doesn't even know something as basic as his last name. She's enjoying being around someone who wants to be around her, but she can't help but doubt as to why. Because I'm old, you're young, why aren't you with someone who's your age? This is where she gets some information out of him. Wait, that sounds weird. This is where he rapid fires information about himself to stop her from talking herself out of the date. He tells her his last name, Greene, but that wasn't enough. She doesn't really see it as anything important because he only says it because she mentioned it. And so he tells her more things. Finally, he mentions an ex-girlfriend that he thought he was going to marry, but according to him, she had very different plans. In the end, he convinces Julia to return to their date and their relationship blossoms even more, leading up to the night she decides to introduce him to her kids. Oh, wow. Prepare yourself. Oh, no, don't prepare yourself. I wish I could narrate how awkward, how skin crawling that entire evening was, but I can't. My skin. I was sat in the TV with my pillow between my eyes, just trying to peek as to, oh, geez. It fell apart quick. Oh, the shock on their faces. He walked up to them and her oldest confused him for the waiter until she was like, nah, that's, do you see what he's wearing? That's not a waiter, that's the man.
This is the someone. This is Benjamin.
And this is where the context of knowing Ben Barnes from this series is important. Spoilers for Shadow and Bone. It is also my first introduction to Archie. I don't want to pronounce his last name. So imagine me seeing them both fight over the same girl in Shadow and Bone. Every second I'll be thinking to myself, he took your mom and now he's taking your girl. Get up! It was so funny. When I first watched Shadow and Bone, they started with, I've forgotten his name in Shadow and Bone. They started with Archie and then the girl he liked. I've forgotten all the names. How was that possible? Fair, I haven't watched this in a while, but oh my goodness. Cute friendship relationship, and then they showed him turn around. And I was like, wait. When he had the moment of taking her arm and then making her power come out, I was thinking to myself, are they going to make these two, Ben Barnes and Archie obviously, fight again over a woman? Good lord. But that aside, the dinner goes horribly. I've already said this, and I think it's expected. The kids do not like him because not only is he younger than their mother, it is also clear she's spending on him. What he wore, I don't know how much of his money was on his fit. I don't want to call him a pauper because I'm sure he could afford clothes. He was wearing clothes before he met her, but that shirt looked good. I'm sorry. Julia, though, is on cloud nine. She leaves with him, happy and content to the horror and shock of all her three kids. Julia and Ben spend some time together at her home, but the moment is disrupted by the appearance of her ex-husband. And this is not a horror movie, but even in the bright lights, the way he stood behind the door and the music cutting out when the camera cut to him, nightmare fuel. To me, he just looked menacing. I don't know why. It was just haunting. There you are trying to build a good life, and there he is. Memories of the past coming to ruin it. The meeting between Ben and her ex-husband is tense for Julia. The ex is condescending. The nerve of him. The nerve. Ben is unfazed, but Julia is panicking. She goes around performing some household tasks as they speak, and during one of these tasks, she has another flashback, a short one. She's just showing her hand bleeding. We're getting somewhere with these flashbacks. Ben notices something is wrong, and she kisses him in response to him asking. I don't know why I found out seeing the kiss, not the flashback, funny. You would think she's doing it because she wants to make the ex jealous. I don't know why she did it. It just looks so... I don't know if she was trying to ground herself in reality because she had the flashback and then Ben was at her side the next second and... They go sightseeing around the town. When returning to London, she catches Ben making a phone call that is clearly uncomfortable for him, but he brushes it off. He introduces her to his friends later on, and they are extremely welcoming. No single side eye or whispered thoughts in sight. The guys and the girls separate at some time, and Julia remains speaking with Bianca. Bianca? And let me just say, Bianca is just a sweet character. She is very accommodating to Julia, even when asked to show pictures of Ben's ex, which I'm confused why she still had those though. I don't remember the story of the ex, if she was working with them and then moved away, or if Ben was just working with them and then they knew her, because how do you still have pictures of his ex? But That aside, she does show it to Julia and is supportive by telling Julia that she does the same with her boyfriend. She also liked to see the women he dated in the past, and she had no need to be embarrassed to ask to see a picture of the ex. And when Julia is obviously blindsided by the differences between her and the ex, Bianca tells Julia that she is prettier than the ex, that she has nothing to worry about. She's gorgeous, such a supportive beauty. Bianca, I needed more scenes with her, but because of how little they showed of Ben's life, we only got to see Bianca a handful of times, but what a supportive queen. But the damage was done. Despite all she said, the damage was done. Coupled with her kids' thoughts, her own reservations and doubts, she says something that causes Ben to leave her. She spends time with her kids, her son especially, her older son, who's happy, he and his family are happy to hear about the break. What am I saying? She goes to the son's house. He and his family are happy to see her, but he is happy to hear about the breakup. That's what I was trying to say, yes. Ben doesn't call her after they had their fight, and she stalks his workplace only to run into Bianca, who again is just the sweetest thing. She realizes that there has been a problem and she offers her 2 cents, while also telling Julia where she can actually find Ben, because he didn't come to work that day. She tells her where Ben lives, in case she wanted to go find him. And she promises not to mention even seeing her near the office at all. Your secret is safe with me. Julia then breaks down at her son's place when her daughter-in-law asks if their relationship is over. She wonders was it wrong that she wanted a bit of love for herself and all those things. The daughter-in-law, feeling guilty and bad for making her cry, gets up immediately to embrace her. Her daughter-in-law is also another sweet character. Patrick does not deserve her, but this is not that video. And unfortunately, their relationship was too short to even make that video. But the simple short line is, Patrick does not deserve her. The daughter-in-law hugging Julia triggers another memory. This time of Julia on the floor, bleeding from her head. Then she soon wonders aloud if falling in love and being happy would be the worst thing to happen. And to the horror of her kids, she reached out to Ben, and back together they got. Ben visits Julia at her home in town again, and she's having a tense conversation with her ex-best friend, who is also her ex-husband's current girlfriend. Yeah, that lady in the beginning that I said we'll talk about, that's her friend. She and Julia were friends. The husband decides he wants to cheat. He goes to the friend, and they cheat together. Then he leaves with the friend, and then they get divorced. Wild. Julia's trauma from that is still very, very clear. She doesn't know Ben has arrived, and when she gets to the door, she sees Ben shaking the lady's hand. They're talking, the friend is smiling, chatting. I'm honestly surprised it didn't give her another flashback with how horrified she looked. I thought she was going to devolve into another one. Her children arrive to perform another intervention, prompting Ben to take his unwanted behind on the road. At home, her children show her a photo of Ben speaking with an older woman and tell her that he's just playing her and running a long con to get a comfortable life in her mansion. The news sends Julia into a panic, and at this point, you know what comes along with that. Another flashback. She is beaten and bruised, with her husband leaving the house, slamming the door, I think, as he leaves. It takes a few seconds to recover, and she just stands holding the rails of the stairs, as she was holding it in the flashback. She's trying to catch her breath. Then she sends her children away to handle Ben when he returns. And oh, did Ben return to an avalanche. She spends the day side-eyeing him, asking this sleepy man odd questions, and offers him dessert for all the weird behavior in the form of setting his belongings on fire. I'm talking, she made a bonfire and chucked the stuff he came with into it.
What's going on? Is that my...
He Ben was so confused. He had no idea what was happening and also no idea how to react. He's trying to stop her from burning his stuff, and she's shouting. She throws the accusations that her children gave to her back at him, and through the chaos, he shows her a message that explains the older woman was a client and his friends teasing him about using his charms since he has proof of success through Julia. They were like, oh, you already know how to woo women like this, so why don't you just do us a solid and fall on this sword for us? Julia reads the message and calms down. They talk, and Julia not only asks him to stay, but also invites him to move in with her because he's having problems with his house. He's about to be kicked out. The next thing she does is call and then asks her children to stay away and not interfere with her life. As she does this, Ben is beside her, sort of listening, saying nothing while she speaks, and then placing a supporting hand on her shoulder, cutting the call when it is obvious that they aren't giving up. They enjoy the house, their relationship growing, and he even cheers her up when Leo's attitude gets her down. She clears out some things from her home and her ex's things specifically and takes them to him. Generous. I would have mailed them to him. I would have gotten a box, taped it shut, slapped it, sent it to the P.O. box or what. I don't know how mails work. I've never sent one. And I'll have them send it to him. She honestly, now I'm thinking about it, I do wonder why she went there personally. She doesn't like him. She doesn't like his girlfriend, who's her ex-best friend. Maybe she wanted to talk. She did say she didn't want to fight, I think. But she sacrifices her own mental health to go and give him his belongings. Because of what transpired, she should have mailed it because it goes just as you would expect. He starts an argument using Leo because he had come over to stay in that house. All Julia wanted was if he was coming to stay with you, you could have called or something like that. And this guy was not having it. He was saying, he's my son. If he wants to stay, he can stay. I don't need your permission for anything. He then takes it a step further to blame Julia for the distance between he and his other two children, Della and Patrick. This man. The nerve of you. Accusing her of trying to put the same distance between him and Leo that she had forced between he and his older kids. His girlfriend tries to keep things calm, but this man wanted to twist the knife, despite Julia telling him their children are not pawns. He responds with, Leo is on my side. Did you hear what she said? Don't play chess with our kids. What do you mean Leo is on my side? You are the one trying to make them pick sides. He then confidently tells Julia that Leo knew about his affair with her best friend and never said anything to her. Oh, he twisted. That knife must have been serrated. He must have gutted. Oh, jeez. Julia is gobsmacked. His girlfriend is stunned and he is just gloating. The girlfriend at least has the decency to know that that information is going to hurt. He has the shamelessness to accept that he wanted it to hurt. He doesn't care for the distance between mother and son. He just wanted a win over Julia, and that was his best hand. He wanted to wipe the smile off her face and hurt her any way he could. And it works, Julia. Where's your poker face? Where's your poker face? Why are you out? No, in that moment, she should have just stone-faced it. Act like she didn't care and walk out. Now, it got her. She leaves in distress, but doesn't tell her son, Leo, what she knows now. Instead, she helps Benjamin settle in. She buys him some more soft life. They get a new car together. She gets a desktop, you name it. She's decking out a particular room for Benjamin. She's giving him the soft life and still ignoring her children, especially Patrick. And with all this, Ben is so happy with their life together that he asks her to marry him. She agrees. But the scene of him asking her to marry him, Benjamin looked like a lunatic. They were so happy about the engagement and they went to look at rings and Benjamin and her are smiling until Benjamin sets his eyes on the prices of these rings. Woo! I think he could feel the hole in his pocket burning. They run into her ex and her other ex and make their way away from him. I mean, away from them, but mostly him. The husband is just staring daggers at them from across the street. If looks could kill, Benjamin would have a stroke, an aneurysm, cancer. He would get it all on the spot. This guy was wishing him evil. I mean, evil. The talks of marriage get Julia nervous, and she talks to Ben about why he would even want to marry her. And then Ben goes over the fact that, yeah, even he didn't think he would want to after his ex, but with how he's been feeling with Julia, he believes that they should both give themselves a chance at love again, and it's not a bad thing to do so. He says more things, but I don't want to narrate the entire thing. His answer reduces some of her anxiety, but the battle is yet to begin. It's Christmas time, and the family is rolling in to celebrate. The family she hasn't seen in a bit, yeah, they're coming. Her daughter-in-law is gracious as usual, treating Ben kindly, while Patrick throws more shade than a beach umbrella. Even their daughter, who is shy with him, she warms up to him soon enough and is then swinging on his arm and playing with him later on. But Patrick continues to antagonize, especially after Julia unceremoniously announces that she was getting married to Ben. More tension arises when Julia catches Ben making a call to his ex, telling her he was getting married. They don't argue about it, but Julia wasn't the biggest fan of that, me neither. When they speak later, she asks him why he doesn't call his family. Why did you call the ex? What about your family? And if he would call some of his family to come to the wedding, to which he says there is no one to invite from his family side, which confuses Julia. No cousin, no long lost aunt that maybe you can just invite. Nope, nothing, darling. I'm doing it again. Julia carries an olive branch to her bastard of a husband. Forgive my language. I don't know why she keeps trying. Sorry for the insult. But she carries an olive branch to him, and he does what he does best. Julia calmly speaks about not wanting any divide between him and the kids, but he doesn't believe her. She then tells him that she's going to marry Ben. He takes a poke at her, insinuating gold digger again when it came to Ben, like, is he going to buy the ring or are you going to buy the ring? He makes fun of Ben being unable to afford a ring for her, mentioning how much the ring he got her originally cost him. I think he said 3 months of his salary or something. Then he claims he's trying to open her eyes. I'm just trying to help you, sweetheart. You're blinded. You're blinded by desperation and patheticness. You are being pathetic. He didn't say it like that, but you could just see it. You could just see he had nothing good to say. He said he was just looking out for her. But that mask, that fake behavior is quick to fall off. This delusional barbarian claims that she's doing all of this because she is still in love with him and trying to get under his skin by pretending to move on.
It would be easier and a lot cheaper if you just admit you're still in love with me.
Full of yourself is an understatement for this guy. I want to even mention how their divorce was, at least he states that their divorce was 4 months prior. As if it should mean anything to Julia. As if it should mean anything to her that they were not divorced long. Before you were divorced, you had moved out of the house with your new boo thing. You went to her place. And then let's not forget the reason you're divorcing because of the cheating. We haven't even touched the abuse yet. But yeah, Julia should honor the fact that you had just been divorced for 4 months and now she's trying to get married again because you have decided not to marry your girlfriend who you have been dating before you even signed papers. Sir, don't get me upset. Julia plays his game for 20 seconds, reminiscing about their wedding day and how happy and in love they were, and he's in bliss remembering it too. He's in heaven. He can see the pearly gates. Yes, I remember how much we loved each other. I remember the vows we shared. And she was telling it to him and he was sucking it in. And then she burst that bubble with a quickness. Julia for the win. She tells him that, sir, if I had known everything you were before we got married, I would never have said yes. I want to know in his head how he saw his marriage. He tries to put it in words, but I don't think what's in his head is what's coming out of his mouth. He was so entranced by the memory. So you have a girlfriend. He was so taken in by her mentioning it before, the beauty, their youth, the love. Sir, you were a monster who abused her. Who in God's name do you think you are? She finally leaves his presence with her head held high. Vindication for the last time he got that knife stuck in her. She won. And she didn't have to use your kids to do it. I call that a win. She used him and her and no one else. And yeah, bro, you suck. It lights a fire under Julia, one that burned hard enough for her to go home, wake up the entire family, and make it clear to her kids that she was not going to live her life for anyone but herself. Maybe they think what she's doing with Benjamin is wrong because they only met a few months ago. Maybe they think he's not right for her, but she's going to have this wedding for no one else but herself. And the walk Ben does after she leaves is the most, yeah, that's right, walk I have ever seen. He just looked at her kids and swaggered up. But her kids do fall in line. They do chill off. But they chill off with some reservations because you can't just come all in just because your mother is speaking all passionately. Nah. One of the few reservations that I agree with, and that's that their mother getting Benjamin to sign a prenup. Instead of asking him to sign the prenup, though, Julia is afraid that asking him to sign the papers would make him think she also sees him as a gold digger. That's not fair. Whether she sees him as that or not, this is her children's inheritance. And you want to at least secure that. I don't know how to put it, but she's afraid Ben will see it in a negative light and decides that instead of asking, she would use the signature on his passport to forge his signature on the paper to give her kids. But that secret is quickly followed by the revelation of one of Ben's own secrets. At the beginning, he tells Julia that
I'm an only child.
Then when she asks about inviting family for the wedding, he says,
I mean, I'm sure there are cousins and aunts and all that. Talking about close family.
So imagine her surprise. A man pulls up to her house and introduces himself as Ben's brother. Julia can easily brush off the lie, and Ben is obviously worried about the lie he's been caught in. They talk about it, and she doesn't hide the distrust that it has created in her because it wasn't a simple or small lie.
He's your flesh and blood, and if you can lie about that, you can lie about anything.
And his explanation doesn't give her any comfort or confidence. It escalates, and Ben has a panic attack that Julia ends up comforting him through. She does gracefully give him a chance the next morning to tell her anything else that she should know, and let me just save you the trouble. He throws this opportunity into the wind. He says, this is all you need to know about me, Ben, you liar! You liar. His brother comes over and she treats him respectfully, but her and Leo soon head out for what was meant to be some mother-son bonding, but isn't. Leo has behind her back invited his father. He is trying, or he wants to see if there is hope of getting them back together, but as it always does with them, it devolves into an argument. Leo finally learns that his mother knows that he knew about the affair a long time ago and never told her, and then he gets upset that his father would reveal that to her. And they all go back home depressed, and Leo is arguing that their whole world has changed since Benjamin came in. It's not fair. And Julia finally tells him that there was a lot wrong with their family long before Benjamin ever got in the picture. This has Leo having his own flashbacks as to what he remembers as a child, but he's too young to see it clearly. So he calls his siblings and asks them, we were happy as kids, right? We were good, right? They're not helpful, but it gets him thinking about his dad. One more showdown occurs between Ben and Patrick, who peels off the bandage and allows the gun wound to bleed by telling Ben he and his other siblings think he's a gold digger and is only with their mother for money. There's no fight, just everyone going their own way, but Della doesn't allow her mother to wallow, and at least Julia tries not to. This is the most depressing lead up to a wedding ever. Everyone is on edge. Ben clearly doesn't want his brother there. Julia is hanging on by a thread, and all the tension, especially between Julia and Ben and his brother, coupled with her fear of being in a bad relationship again, leads Julia to go and discover what Ben's past was really like. And there she learns his real name was Sean, a boy who went to jail for murder. She can't catch a break. Julia, get off! Oh, and things don't get any better when she returns home. She learns that her oldest son is following in his father's footsteps, cheating on his wife. Patrick doesn't deserve that gorgeous woman. Oh no. She goes to bed and is conflicted as she looks at the place Ben should be sleeping in and works herself into another trauma flashback. She's had a few, and I haven't mentioned all of them, but she falls into one. It's the wedding day and her daughter is being her biggest hype man, but Julia's mind is torn between what she knows and what she has ahead of her, even in her wedding dress. As she stands in her wedding dress, Della thinks she's shedding tears of joy, but that's a tortured woman. This is the same vibe as The Best Man, where the guy is being tortured by flashbacks behind his closed eye of his soon-to-be wife sleeping with his best friend, and everyone thinks it's just a romantic moment. That man is dying inside. He was in tears, unable to breathe, unable to get words out, and they were just there crying along with him like, so romantic. Julia meets up with her ex-husband in desperation to understand her life in general. And he deludes himself into thinking her wanting to speak to him was because she wanted to try her version of Runaway Bride, Delusional. He even has the gall to think that they are even now because he's had his revenge and she got him back by being with Benjamin. Delusional. Then suggests that they start over again. Delusional. Sir, how did you get this? Okay, I get it. She called him, but this is just to show some more, because I haven't discussed his side and behavior because it's not important to me. I don't want to give him any screen time. This is just how it just expands how much his getting with her best friend had nothing to do with feeling on his part. He doesn't love that woman. He saw a way to hurt Julia when he thought I'm going to get to it. Julia is a mess, but not that much of a mess where she doesn't pick up on him saying,
I had my revenge and now you with all this.
And rightfully asks him, what were you getting revenge for? To which he replies,
Oh, for you leaving me.
Not by moving away, no. He meant by withdrawing herself physically from him. So because she withdrew, he set his eyes on her best friend to stick it to her and cause her pain, effectively taking someone she would have seen as a pillar, just in case they did divorce, away from her and leaving her with what he thought would be nothing. He wanted her to be desperate, feeling pathetic, low down in the mud, and he was upset when Benjamin came in the picture because she wasn't wallowing in self-pity and she got herself a new man. The girl. She can't easily bring herself to speak up, Julia I mean, but she slowly gains confidence. She begins to speak to him about what their life was like truly, what their life was like together. And he doesn't have the decency to face his abusive behavior even in that moment. You know, let's say you've been abusive. Maybe you're too much of an egotistical maniac to accept that. But even as a performance, he can't attempt apologies. Even if it's to perform like he's reformed, he can't attempt actually understanding doing anything wrong. It's one thing if you behave like you didn't do anything wrong and you see this as your chance to get the woman back, and you maybe lie, yeah baby, I'm sorry, I regret what I did. He can't even do that. He can't bring himself to face what he did to her.
You owe me this one thing.
I don't owe you anything.
He even tells her that, hey, all the abuse I did, the children never saw it. And she was like, what? And then he was like, okay, yeah, they saw that one time. They only saw that one time. And she was like, does that make it better? It doesn't, but it doesn't compute in his brain. He's more upset that she is trying to understand his behavior than at the behavior that she's trying to understand. You would think she was asking him to throw himself off a cliff the way he was behaving.
We never talked about it.
I can't do this.
And her confrontation earns her a backhand. Well, he was unhelpful. So she leaves and seeks her answers elsewhere. And if you are wondering what she was trying to clarify from him, she basically wanted to know how his abuse came to be. Because according to Julia, he wasn't that way when she married him. So the change must have been so drastic. I don't know if it was gradual, but she was like, how do you go from a moment of just being calm and in yourself to being violent and explosive? How do you say you love someone one day and then put your hands on them the next? And it's all because she found out that Ben was a murderer. According to the papers and the story that she got from his hometown, it wasn't just murder as in, oh, he got a gun and shot. No, he hit someone and that someone died. That's why he went to prison. And she's wondering if the Ben she knows now could one day become like her husband. Yeah, they're cool now. But what if she finally puts a ring on it again and have this man explode at her just like the husband did? That's all she wanted to find out. She runs out of loopholes. She runs out of excuses, answers. She confronts Ben. And he takes her to see his brother, who confesses under duress that he was the one who actually killed the man. Ben was just the one who took the blame. But along with his confession comes some words that truthfully gagged me. He tells Julia, prepare yourself. He tells Julia, this older woman who's obviously going to be facing that for a while and who's trying to get ahead of it, who he has been so nice to all the time. Oh Lord. He says that Ben wants to be with her because she gives him everything he always wanted. He said she gives him money. Oh, status. and a mother who loved him. And he said it with his chest. He said the last part with so much venom. You know he wanted it to enter her soul. So why are you doing this? All he said was tell the truth so I could get married. You don't have to attack my girlfriend. Calm down. My mouth dropped at that last part because, so how dare you? Ben tries to walk away and take Julia, but his brother is not done. He tells Ben that he is going to be stuck in a world that he doesn't belong in, with a family that won't accept him, and a pensioner for a wife.
And a pensioner for a wife.
Oh my god. Julia gagged, me gagged. Ben is unsurprised. Ben just stares at him like, this is why, thank you. Thank you for saving me the explanation. This is why I didn't want to even agree that you were living. This is why I wanted you to be dead to me. Because I knew you would do something like this. Oh, my chest, that entire scene. My jaw was on the floor. I mean, Patrick was not subtle about it either. But my God, he never said that. He never said that to Julia. Ben and Julia speak in the car after, and they share their struggles with each other before separating to go prepare for the wedding. Ben explains again, now the whole truth is out, why he didn't want to accept his brother. When he went to prison, he was a minor. That is the whole reason he took the blame. Because he thought he would get less years, which he did, and he was doing it to save his brother because it would be harder for his brother to come out in a shorter time. And also, prison might make him worse than he would have been. Only for Ben to come out and realize that his brother became everything he didn't want him to be. And so he left and tried to rewrite his life. And Julia said she's basically wanting to do the same thing because of how much of a failure her marriage to her ex was. And so they separate, and they both look unsure still. Julia still unwilling to make another mistake, while Ben is jittery about how things are supposed to go. They get married in the end. Yes, these two say yes, they kiss, people are happy, it's all cheers and whatnot. But now we get to the meat of this entire video. Was Benjamin Greene a gold digger? Benjamin's character was a very interesting one because you see him as loving and enamored with Julia, but there are moments when you wonder. I'm only wondering because sometimes you have to always think. As age gap couples are always represented, there's always seemed to be an undertone that's always there. Oh, it has to be the money. Oh, he's chasing her because she's young. He's searching for lost youth. It's not real love. Things like that. Julia had such a traumatic history with men that you sometimes wonder if it's real from Benjamin's end or if he's playing a long game and Julia is not seeing it because Julia's had a traumatic past, and because of her reservations, you start to wonder if there's something she's not seeing about Ben, if there's really some underlying deception in his love and the way he treats her. It's something that haunts me because I don't want it to be true. Let's talk about it. Tell me what you think because the comments are important. I really would like to hear what people think about the shows I discuss because it's me just putting my thoughts out there just so I could hear yours. Each time I go back to this show, the doubt is at the back of my mind and it keeps me wondering, even though I do lean more towards Ben being earnestly in love with her. I've mentioned this so many times on this channel that I'm a hopeless romantic. And if I watch a romantic story, I want the romance to just be romantic. I've watched Ava La Trailerette, another age gap telenovela, and I loved it. It was outright. There was no underlying, oh, he wants her money. Is it? It was straightforward. They love. Gold Digger was the first. I think I watched another age gap. This one was it Filipino? The guy got married to another young woman, and that one was also straightforward. This was the first age gap romance that I had to sit back and wonder, can I just accept this and be happy? Or is this something I should be seeing with Ben? I don't know. I want to accept it because I love this for Julia because her husband was a prick. But am I also being blinded because of what she's been through to just want the best for her? I'm not seeing that she's being taken advantage of. One neat thing about this series is how they show so little of Ben's life to the viewer, to us. We learn things as Julia is learning them, and rarely get to see his life away from Julia. Like I mentioned in the beginning, they don't show his work. They don't show him discussing with his friends or what they say after. So what they say in the presence of Julia is all we ever get to hear. While I'm giving them praise as to, oh, they treated her so nicely, I have no proof that they thought anything demeaning about their relationship or her in particular. The first time we even learn Ben's name, his full name, Benjamin Greene, and other details is when he tells it to Julia. One of his first scenes away from Julia is the scene where he speaks to her ex-best friend. Even the call with his ex, we don't hear much of it. Just Julia catching the bit before he ends the call. We don't know if he was boasting to his ex like, hey, I'm getting married too. He was making a call. So we never get to see so much from Ben. We only see it through Julia's eyes. His motives aren't all that clear. If we are to look at his actions though, there's always a but to place in a few of them. Not all. Let's take the breakup to start. He gets offended when she snidely tells him that he expects to have fun as she pays for it. There is no call from him during the separation. Julia defends her reaching out to him to fix things. So was he offended enough to stay away? Or was he biding his time waiting for her to make the first move? See how invested she is in this. What is she ready to do? When he visits her for the first time, he audibly gushes about how beautiful her home is. And personally, who would not say that? It'd be more strange if he didn't comment on the house. Because the house was beautiful, the land was gorgeous. So is that a gold digger unable to hide his excitement at how lucky he has gotten, or someone fascinated by the view? Because the view was great. If something is magnificent or awe-striking, I would say so, without a second thought. So why should he have to think about it if he means no harm? Your house is amazing. You can read it as maybe him slipping, or a normal human making a very, very normal comment on a beautiful space. He does keep the fact that he's about to be evicted and in debt from Julia, which he finally reveals as she sets his things on fire. I can easily say that he was keeping it a secret, hoping he would get more in her good graces later on, but that would depend on how desperate he believed she would be. He couldn't really know for sure, and he might have been waiting for the right time, and her finding out finally just gave him a chance to do so. But there's also the part that I believe. He didn't tell her because he didn't want her to offer help. What even makes me want to believe him more is how he reacts as she burns his things. He's shocked and tries to stop her, but instead of being violent, he tries to talk to her and understand what is going on. When she comes out of it, he defends himself. It's the first time, I don't know if I'll say he raises his voice to her, but wow, that response. He was like, even if I was getting kicked out of my house today, none of that gives you the right to burn my things like some crazy witch. He says his piece in anger, yes, and then tries to save his things, but never put his hand on Julia. Never was rude or insulting. A crazy witch was, I don't know if you take that as an insult, but she was acting like a lunatic. I'm sorry. That is insane. When she does ask about the debt, he quickly tries to shut it down, realizing that she's trying to pay it off. Now, that can be him putting up appearances, but also him trying not to have her spend more on him. But what do you think? Why did he have to be broke? If he was, I do wonder if he was rich. If he came from a rich family, what would she have said? Because whenever I watch these things, it does come to my mind. When it's older or younger, one of them, usually the younger one, is not as rich as the older one. What would people say if they were both wealthy? How would that go? Because you can't call the younger person a gold digger. They have money. So, yeah, him not telling her about the debt, it's a situation of we never know now that she's found out what he was ever going to do. If he was ever going to say anything or just continue their relationship. Because he was in deep. Wherever they went, he couldn't pay for anything and she was just the one paying for it. But he never mentioned the one thing that he would have needed her to pay for that would have saved his life, which was the debt. And thanks to her son, she found out and I'm sure she paid it off. She paid it off and she gave him a place to stay, which was in her house. And he was working from there. So it could have been him saying, oh, I don't want you to pay just because he wants to look like he doesn't want her to pay. Or just be him saying, I don't want you to pay because he didn't want her to pay. Then, during his time talking with her ex-best friend, he immediately takes Julia's side and even speaks defensively of her kids. I don't know if it was defensively. She made a comment about her children and then he said, are you calling Julia's children dogs? I don't know if I'll say it's defense or if it was just shock at her simile, hyperbole, whatever she was using to try and get to him how her children behave. But he wasn't even rude about the kids. He just accepted that they wanted to protect their mom. And while it frustrated him, he didn't seem to be overly angry about it. But then that scene is followed later on by him hovering over her as she asks for distance from her kids, who question his sincerity. Isn't it apparently a tactic of manipulators and abusers to cut you off from family when they aren't immediately taken with them and they have suspicions? Yes. But her family doesn't stay away for too long, and when they return, Ben doesn't try to isolate her from them. So I'd argue he wasn't trying to do that in the first place. But I stand to be corrected. I don't know. I keep saying it. I want to lean more on the side that he was just genuinely in love with her. But there's always two sides to a story, and maybe I'm just not seeing the undertones. I always miss these things. When he does speak to her ex-husband a second time around, and the ex-husband mentions that the house is his, Ben replies by saying, "Not anymore." That can also be looked at as him not allowing the ex take a dig at him, or him once again voicing intentions to take over. Not anymore, it's my house now. Or truthfully, just Ben stating simple facts. The house isn't his anymore. The house belongs to Julia, so the ex has no claim on it whatsoever. Ben didn't say something as definitively compromising as, "It's mine." He just said, "Not anymore," which can be taken in a good or a bad way. Then there was his jealousy when he found out that Julia had told her ex-husband about the wedding. Ben thinks she's using him to make her ex jealous, which is rich coming from the guy that she caught calling his ex as well. Which, whether he is bad or not, is insanity in every sense. But it's the expression of that doubt that he puts on Julia that pushes her to get the ring and truly get the ball rolling in the direction of a wedding. Should we side-eye this insane standard? Yes. But can we side-eye this as guilt-tripping? I don't know. But if you think he was putting on a show to make her feel guilty and ultimately take commitment to him more seriously, let me know in the comments. One scene that truly got me divided is the scene where she confronts him after his brother shows up at her doorstep. During their argument, he erratically tells her that she can't leave him, he won't let her, then slowly transitions into a panic attack. And the thing about panic attacks is that they could be faked and used as a form of manipulation to shift the conversation and garner pity. An action that Julia has fallen for before. In one of her trauma flashes, she recalls her husband attempting to take his own life on the day she had planned to leave him.
I was already packed and then you made it so that I couldn't.
And it was the reason she stayed. Now I know that the two do not compare, but a panic attack, especially when it's happening to someone you care for, can be a jolting experience. And his panic attack affected her very much. So much so that she softened towards him by the time he woke up in the morning. But while I have this interpretation, my original feelings were that Ben was a scared and freaked out man whose lies were catching up to him and threatening the life he wanted to build with Julia. I don't know. Nothing in his performance made me think fake or that he was putting on a show. It simply felt, especially with the context he gave about his life in the finale, like his worst nightmare was coming true and his mind went into overdrive. Here he was with a life he really wanted, a woman he really wanted, and his past that he had tried to keep away all this time was coming back to ruin everything. Julia's vulnerability stems from a place of hurt and heartbreak. To put it lightly, she dated a monster that clearly wasn't the same man after they married, and she reasonably wants to not make that mistake again. With all his care and imperfections, she can't help but wonder if she's making a mistake marrying another wolf in sheep's clothing. She's carrying the baggage over, and this was shown with their first dance when she couldn't help but flash back. No matter how good Ben may seem to be, there's always the undertone that she is making a mistake. Not because of her kids, but because of the life she had before. Yes, he could be everything she wants to think he is, but he could also just be another monster waiting to put the ring on her finger and have everything before he exposes his true behavior. All this to say, Julia's reservations are what make me skeptical of Ben. Especially since Ben himself can be emotionally unstable. I mean, the proposal on the cliff was mental. I wasn't sure if he wanted to push her off or ask her to marry him. And in the same breath, I hold on so tightly to Ben's final words to her waste of an ex-husband. When he makes a scene during the wedding reception, this man came to set the record straight. Julia and I kissed. Julia loves me. I didn't mention the kiss because he kissed. A long story. And no one there is on his side. Not even the youngest boy. Not even him. Ben sets the record straight. He doesn't say, I'm now the man of this house, you're no longer welcome. He asks him to leave. Leave, or I will tell everyone what you have done to Julia. Because I know what you did. And then he tells him when he asks, what do you want with my wife? the audacity. He says, not your wife, my wife. And I want nothing but to love her, treat her right. All the things that you failed to do. Well, that's all perfect, and I did eat it up. But one final confusing or something that could throw you off is the final interaction between Patrick and Ben. Patrick believes Ben knows about his affair because of a note he finds in his suit pocket or something, which he shows to Ben. And Ben not only denies knowing this because the guy really didn't know, but he also uses this newfound knowledge to threaten Patrick with regards to his relationship with his mother. He says, I didn't know about this, but thank you. Thank you for showing this to me. Now, I don't want to ever see you cause problems again, or I will broadcast what this beautiful note has said. Thank you for this, by the way. Was this another means of shutting down anyone who would be a problem for him? Going forward, maybe, but I also think it's him finally getting something that guarantees him peace of mind because Patrick was becoming a lot. Patrick, go sit down. Go sit down. Maybe not, because Patrick was decent during the wedding. So I don't know why he would threaten him, if not just to make sure that he never caused problems in the future, which is weird. But aside that, everyone just pushing the cheating aside frustrated me more and more. More and more people found out, and none of them even considered telling his wife, that sweet woman. It pissed me off because whether he regretted it or not, she should have been given the chance to decide if she wanted to stay with him or not. Everyone just found out and then looked the other way. Do you know, I didn't show you this, but because we're almost at the end of this video, let's just stretch it out for 5 seconds because I can't make a video on this. Do you know how Leo found out? Let me show you the message that Leo saw. And while they were having this, I think it was the Christmas dinner. Oh no, it wasn't the Christmas dinner. It was after. I think it was after Leo's birthday. They came back and Julia walked in on him saying, oh, I told you not to call me when I'm with my wife. It's gotten that deep. And she says nothing. And then Leo is the one that actually wrote the letter. I don't know if I mentioned it. He was the one because he was angry at Patrick for something. I don't know what. He said, I know about something. And Ben goes on to dance with the little girl, Patrick's daughter, and goes past his wife. Nobody is telling this woman that her husband is sleeping with his secretary. All that said, this show was and is such an engrossing drama for me, especially if you wonder about the title and the relationship. Is he a gold digger or a man in love? I've watched this show for years and I honestly do not believe he was a snake in the grass that is going to bite Julia later on. I am of the belief that he does love her, but what do you think? As someone who has watched the show, and even if you haven't, but you've gotten this far in the video, do you think he was truly a gold digger? Thank you for joining me on the video today. Don't forget to donate a like to the video, as that would really help on YouTube, as YouTube doesn't acknowledge my existence. Subscribe if you want to further support the channel, and check out the Patreon for other endeavors of mine. I will see you on the next one.